In the year 2000, Pokemon Gold and Silver were the hot ticket item, and they were on every kid's Christmas list. Pokemania was still running wild, and it showed no signs of slowing down. But as we hit the year 2001, we would get a new Game Boy in the Game Boy Advance. And the Pokemon craze, it seemed like it kinda started to fade. At least, it definitely faded for older kids. But if you were still in that 8 to 12-year-old range, it was still all you wanted to do. We couldn't wait to see what Pokemon games would come out for the brand new GBA. And on November 21st, 2002 in Japan, and March 19th, 2003 in North America, we would see the most beautiful Pokemon games ever made. When Ruby and Sapphire dropped, they were all my friends and I wanted to play. They were beautifully designed, the music was captivating, and the Pokemon designs were amazing. The team at Game Freak would no longer be led by Satoshi Tajiri, as he would take a back seat from now on and hand the reins over to the game's lead composer, Junichi Masuda, whose idea was to take these games almost back to a soft reset in a way, as they would focus primarily on the new Pokemon, and even went with the Ruby and Sapphire, which were basically the same as Red and Blue. But you still would see some of your old favorites, but unlike Gold and Silver, it wouldn't be until much later. The game started off with you moving into Little Root Town, and for some reason you were thrown in the back of the moving truck. And I don't understand why that ever happened, but who cares? CAS doesn't exist here, so we're just gonna ignore it and move on. Like the previous games, it's just you and your mom. Oh, wait a minute. There's a dad! Wow. Well, how am I supposed to relate to this main character now? Whatever. For the first time ever in these games, your dad is actually around. Kinda. He spends all his time at the gym, because he's the gym leader there, and that's actually why you guys moved there in the first place. But he's at least around. After some exploring, you meet Professor Birch, who needs your help to fend off a wild Poochyena. To do so, you grab one of the starter Pokemon that are just sitting in his briefcase just really close by. After you fight the Poochyena, he allows you to keep whatever starter you pick. And now, you're ready to start off on your brand new journey. You also will meet your new rival, May, who is actually Professor Birch's daughter. May as a rival kinda sucks. She's super boring and really doesn't add to the game whatsoever. You go through the typical Pokemon run of beating a couple gyms, and you meet another young boy named Wally, who isn't actually your rival, but he is much better and more interesting rival than May. He's a sickly child who you help catch his first Pokemon, and as he trains his Pokemon, his health seems to get better. By the final battle, he is a formidable challenge, and he puts up a better fight than May really ever did. These games would also introduce new evil teams, depending on your version. I really do like Team Aqua and Magma, but they have their flaws. Like, for instance, whatever team you fight, the opposing team is actually on your side for some reason, and it just seems really, really stupid. But I digress. Just don't pay attention to that part. These two teams are essentially terrorists, or eco-terrorists, as they either want to destroy land for more water or get rid of water for more land. And obviously, it's up to a 10-year-old to put a stop to this because law enforcement is too busy. Abilities and natures were also added, giving much more depth and strategy to battles, and it was a really cool addition. Now catching multiple of the same Pokemon actually makes sense. If you're trying to get the right nature or ability, you're going to need a couple tries. Also introduced are double battles. Something that is very cool, but they don't really force you to do it, so I don't really understand why they made it such a big feature. The Hoenn region would be based off the beautiful Kyushu region. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but I hope so. With its beautiful waterways and forest areas, Hoenn would have some of the most beautiful sceneries of any Pokemon. One of my favorite places is Four Tree City. Now, to traverse this beautiful land that you will have 3 options. Running with the new running shoes, or 2 different bikes, the Mach and the Acro bike. The Mach bike allows you to go really fast, Or you can even go up some steep embankments. The acro bike though, that lets you summon your inner Dave Mira and do some sweet catwalks and bunny hops and hop onto platforms and go across secret ways. It's the best way to bike, and it's the only way to bike. If you're not doing it this way, you're doing it wrong. The games would also introduce some really cool Pokemon, and has some of the best legendary designs to this day. Kyogre being one of my favorite, along with Rayquaza. With these you will also get Groudon, the Latis, the 3 Regis, plus 2 new mythicals with Jirachi and Deoxys. Side note, Jirachi was the first mythical I actually got to use because of the Coliseum bonus disc, and I do it every single time. Once you tackle the gyms, you will challenge the Elite Four and the Champion. The Elite Four are actually pretty good to battle in this game, they're a lot of fun, and their teams are diverse. And then Steven, the Champion, well, he puts Lance to shame. Steven is what you want a champion to be. Pokemon contests were also introduced in this generation, but I never did them, and I could not care less. I played through Sapphire first, so I always grew fond of that version, but I'd be a fool not to talk about Pokemon Emerald. Like Gens 1 and 2, we would see a third enhanced version, but unlike those, Emerald made the most changes, and for the better. You now will face off against both evil teams in one game. Pokemon were given startup animations, like Crystal, and the story stays focused on Rayquaza, and the post-game was given the Battle Frontier, where you can go and really test your skills, which I have not really done because I suck at competitive battling. Also, gym trainers and their teams have also been changed, and mostly for the better. Watson actually having a Hoenn Pokemon now, finally. But Steven is no longer the champion, which I don't like this, as it's now Wallace who will replace him, and I don't really care for Wallace. He's pretty boring. And with Wallace moving up to champion, the 8th gym was taken over by Juan, whose Kingdra is a absolute menace with its double team, and it's bullshit, and I hate it, and I goddamn don't ever want to play it because of this. Sorry. But I digress. You gotta take the bad with the good, as Emerald just had so much more to do, and it is the definitive way to play Gen 3. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire would sell over 16 million units, which would become the best-selling games on the Game Boy Advance, but would still sell less than Red and Blue, Gold, and Silver. So, I guess you could say the fad was falling away a little bit, but if you were actually there and you loved Pokemon like me and my friends, it did not feel like it. Gen 3 is not my favorite, but to go back to, it's some of the easiest to go back to and play. I'm biased to Gold and Silver, but I will admit that Gen 3, they're just better games. The art style, with the games running at 60 FPS, they look far better, they still hold a place in my heart as top tier Pokemon games. And that is a brief look back at Pokemon's 3rd generation, where they showed that they are here to stay. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.